Hello and welcome to a very personal edition of Witness. I'm Raghi Omar. I was born in Somalia, and despite living in London for almost 30 years, it's still my spiritual home. But the civil war that has raged there for decades has forced hundreds of thousands to flee, and many, like me, have ended up in London. There have been amazing success stories to be sure, but one dark side to the story that we cannot continue to ignore is what's happening to young Somali boys. Many are being murdered, and often they're being killed by other young Somali boys. I wanted to find out what has gone wrong, why these children are lured into crime and gang life, easy money and an early death, and why we Somalis haven't faced up to it. But the film is not only about the kids, it's about the previous generation too, the elders, whose hearts and minds never truly left Somalia. Lost Boys. September 2007 in London. Today, a father is doing the most terrible thing a parent can do. He's burying his son.
لا إله إلا الله لا إله تعال لا إله إلا الله Take your shoulder, brother. Put your shoulder underneath. لا إله إلا الله Follow me, please. لا إله إلا الله Mind the hand. Push, please, brother. Okay, that's okay. Leave it with me. Jazakallah khair. That's okay. That's okay.
In Camden, it was a mother who had to endure the pain of burying her son. Local student Maher Osman was setting off for home when he was murdered in January 2006. Maher Osman was only a day away from turning 19, and he was standing at this bus stop just behind me. A gang of Somali boys had come to this area out to avenge an attack on one of their own, and they wanted to get their hands on any Somali boy. And they found Maher, and they attacked him with a viciousness that was just horrific.
How many more? They died. Every day they died, I tell you. Every day. Because they very dangerous, I tell you.
Maher's mother, Asha, lives in a part of Camden which has seen a marked rise in Somali gang violence in recent years. Asha, what happened to Maher on the night that he was killed?
He's walking around the bus stop. 10 o'clock, he want to go home. And they saw the Somali boys. 40 of them, they attacked one boy.
Why do you think 40 Somali boys
with arms
would be randomly looking for another Somali boy?
Imagine.
What's led to that kind of situation?
I don't know. The man witness, an Englishman, he said, I never saw that violence, that people. And still they kick him, and he's coming and he's holding him until ambulance come in. He say, I can't do nothing because too much pain. They haven't got Somali culture, they haven't got English culture. They don't know what they're doing. Really, they don't know. They lost the generation.
Asha, can you describe what kind of boy Maher was?
A caring boy, kind. I love him very much.
Woolwich has also seen a rise in Somali gang violence. One evening in this part of Woolwich, some Somali boys were on their way to meet other young kids who were going to a wedding. But it ended in tragedy, and one of the boys never made it. He was shot and killed, and he was murdered by another Somali boy.
That's okay. That's okay.
The victim was 20-year-old student Abdullah Jama, and I've been invited to attend his funeral. Abdullah was killed in June 2007, but his body has only just been released for burial. This is Musa Chama, Abdullah's father. Abdullah was a well-known and very popular young man. His murder has sent shockwaves throughout the Somali community of Woolwich. Somalis turned out for his funeral in unprecedented numbers. Talking with mourners here, I repeatedly heard people ask, how could this happen within our community? It was like a taboo had been broken. There was a feeling of shame at how our social fabric was breaking down. Back at Musa Chamat's house after the funeral, I discovered that he too was deeply affected by the breakdown of traditional Somali values.
And what was your reaction when you heard it was a Somali boy who shot your son?
It was very shocking when I heard it was a Somali boy who pulled the trigger. What they told me, a Somali boy shot him, it became unbelievable. It was a double blow. Since I came to this area, I have never heard of a Somali boy shooting a gun.
I couldn't believe it. So what kind of justice do you want for Abdullah?
waxaan filayaa justice inaan arko kabiritan in lagu qaado.
I want him to be judged by the British justice system. A fair and just system to punish the boy who killed my son Abdullah.
I mean, I've spoken to young Somali boys who gone through jail or have relatives who have. It just hardens them even more. It makes them I
don't believe that the government or the police are responsible for their problems. I don't believe the Somali elders have taken a tough stand on these issues. That's why Somali youngsters are increasingly in prison.
Musa, you're going through the most terrible experience that any parent could go through, having to bury their child. What are you thinking of when you remember Abdullah?
When I remember, I cried because he was my beloved son. I loved and admired. It's a difficult period and very hard to bear.
Brother Raghi, Umar will be here with us for the next half an hour.
Ramadan Mubarak to everybody, and it's really nice to be on the radio program. I live here as a British Somali Muslim. Up until now, this crisis of our young men has been shrouded in silence. I felt compelled to go public about this issue, and an invitation to talk on the radio during Ramadan was the perfect opportunity. To say, well, what can we do about it? What are the solutions?
Lines are buzzing. Salam, brother. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name's Molid, and I'm calling from West Ealing, London.
Okay.
Hi, Molid.
I mean, the thing is, there's loads of young Somali kids out and about in where I live, in Starfall. All they got is gang on each other. They just keep banging on each other.
Do you think the whole gang thing, Molid, with Somalis is exaggerated, or do you think it is the reality?
The reality. There's no point pretending about it.
Can you describe for me, I mean, what that reality is like?
So all you see is young Somali boys driving nice cars, doing this, doing that, and other people are looking at them and saying, where are they getting these things from?
Can I ask you, do you think it's the drugs and the crime that's actually driving all of this gang fight?
I don't know what it is, whether it's drugs or anything, but there's something that is out there. If you want to come down, Raggy, come and have a look and see what's going on, I'll be more than...
Okay, I'll get your number. I'll get your number, I'll do that.
Because I think it's important to remember that the vast majority of Somalis came over to the UK following a civil war.
And I think we have got high unemployment, a lack of education, and a family in a breakdown.
Go on.
So, brother, what I want to say is this, yeah? What we're lacking as a community, we don't know what integration means.
Okay, excellent point to stop you there, actually.
In the last few years, Somalis have been at the heart of some of the most high-profile murder cases in all of the United Kingdom. There's the case of Mustafa Jama, who's been accused and convicted of the murder of a policewoman, Sharon Beshanovsky. There's the case of Yasin Omar, who's convicted of being involved in the failed London bombings of July the 21st, 2005. And there's also so many cases of Somali-on-Somali violence and murders as well. In the first 6 months of 2007, over 300 violent crimes were committed by Somalis in London alone, the vast majority of them by young men increasingly prepared to kill. In Woolwich, the community is waking up to this generational crisis in our midst.
there is a huge gap between the kids and the elderly family. There is a huge gap. When it comes to kids, they got their own world.
The generation gap, yeah. I mean, even within my family, you know, they never really mentally unpacked when they came here. You know, they came, but everything was still back in Somalia. You know, the suitcase was still closed, you know, packed tight, yeah. But, you know, you were really disciplined, you know, and elders and families did that, you know. But it's just not the case. There's a confidence about a younger generation, which never used to be the case.
There's no guidance. There isn't anyone you can look up to.
I mean, it's very difficult to say anything when you see about 4 or 5 or 6-year-old kids taking drugs from their older brothers, cousins, or friends, and taking to the cars and selling them and collecting money back. It's an exclusive thing for the Somali community.
How do you
Wherever
feel
you
about
go,
it? How does it
everywhere.
make you
You
feel?
feel sick. You feel like, you know, dying. There's nothing you can do.
Nothing is called to be too late. I believe it has to come from us as a community.
If the council is not helping you, how's that? How are you going to do something, man?
It's part of us. That's what I'm saying.
But if we can't talk about our problems, especially those that affect young boys, you know, we're going to be faced with a lost generation.
The latest casualty for this lost generation was 22-year-old Yasin Abdurrahman, another student. He had been stabbed on the streets of Southall and lay in a coma for a week. He died on September the 11th, 2007. I'm in Southall, which is actually not far from where I live in West London. Southall is an area I know well, but the mood here has become distinctly edgy, and people didn't want us to film them. After the break, I meet up with some of these lost boys who tell me frankly that Somalia and the past has nothing to offer them. Join me then.